Patrik Allvin, baby. Hell yeah. I feel like throughout the entire summer, that phrasing or something like that has been so heavily said by me and y'all in the comments and other people on social media, especially the Instagram comments. Oh yeah, Canucks fans are getting rowdy in a good way over there. But a lot of people have been talking about Patrik Allvin and the way he has maneuvered around this free agency period, this offseason, and the way he's decided to build this team. And what I wanted to do in this video was go over some extra thoughts in regards to one of the recent Patrik Allvin moves via Dranson Dhaliwal. They published an article recently on The Athletic. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and see that yourself. It is this summer piece right here. Dranson Dhaliwal, what we're hearing about Thatcher Demko and the end of the Canucks offseason. Link in the description if you want to read it yourself. It's from The Athletic, though, so it's paid for material. Either way, we did have some very interesting quotes from this piece that go over what exactly the Canucks' philosophy is with trades, and it goes into some extra reasoning as to why they made certain moves. Now, of course, The Athletic is paid for material. We're not going to go out there and screenshot the article per se, but there were a few interesting posts made by Buck Foston on Twitter that went out there and transcribed some of these same comments. So let's go out there and see this first idea here. Dranson Dhaliwal go out there and say this: as it stands, the Vancouver Canucks are planning to enter the season outside of long-term injury reserve. For Canucks management, Plan A remains to accrue salary cap space throughout the upcoming campaign for the purpose of maximizing cap flexibility at the 2025 trade deadline. Now, for those that don't really understand how that works, I'll try to briefly explain it here. You can be under the salary cap. That's a totally okay thing to do. You can go up to the salary cap as well, and you can actually exceed the salary cap if you have guys on the LTIR whose contracts you could use as breathing room once you reach that cap ceiling. You can't activate LTIR money until you reach the cap ceiling, so for some teams that are absolutely pinned up and strapped to the cap, you're kind of crap out of luck if you don't have that LTIR option or that extra guy that's injured whose contract you could use as breathing room. For the Vancouver Canucks, though, their intention was to actually start the season a few X amount of dollars underneath the salary cap. And the reason that's helpful is because salary cap space accrues over time. If you start out the NHL season day one and you have, let's say, $1 million worth of salary cap space on that day, by the time day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 35 or whatever rolls around, the amount of savings that you have underneath the cap will have built up over time. And it allows you to go out there and spend more money for more expensive players at the trade deadline. We all recognize the loopholes that, hey, there is a salary cap in the regular season, but there isn't one in the playoffs, so teams like the Vegas Golden Knights and the Tampa Bay Lightning can exploit their LTIR by having really expensive guys get hurt and stay in recovery for longer than they maybe should, so you can bolster up your team during the regular season, and then once the playoffs come around, you can bring the LTIR guys back and you keep the same guys you had to replace them, and you have a lot of extra firepower. For the Vancouver Canucks, though, it seems like until this Thatcher Demko thing went down, their main intention was to start out the season with a lot of cap space so that they could build that up over the course of the season and use it all at the 2025 trade deadline. That's a pretty good idea. I like it. It's smart. There also are some extra thoughts here. This is what Dranson Dhaliwal said about the Vasili Podkolzin trade from Vancouver's POV. The Canucks knew that Podkolzin would not clear waivers if he didn't land a job amongst Vancouver's top 13 forwards at camp. The decision was made to move on from him now for a 4th-round pick, as opposed to risking losing him on waivers or accepting the sort of lowball offer from a club intent on jumping the waiver wire queue closer to Canadian Thanksgiving. So they knew that he would probably not really be guaranteed a spot, and they knew that he would not clear waivers. We had talked about this as well, but Podkolzin, this was the first year of his waiver eligibility, and so the Canucks had to make a choice. Either he is an NHL player, which is going to be tough to predict because there are so many other guys that fill out the rest of the Canucks forward core, or they lose him out for nothing by having him try out to be an NHL player. He's not as good as a Sprong or a Sherwood or a whatever, and then he gets sent down, and then he gets claimed. Easy to say for a guy that was a top 10 pick, so Patrik Allvin bit the bullet and said, hey, we'll just get rid of him now. 4th-round pick, here we go. It's not like a 6th or a 7th, because if it was a later in the season kind of trade and a team knew that we were getting rid of this guy, they probably would have only offered a 6th or a 7th. So let's just get a 4th right now, send him over to Edmonton, a team where he's actually going to be used. We're setting him up with the opportunity to actually play and get meaningful minutes, and we're getting draft capital and some salary relief as well. You also had yourselves this other extra thought about the Podkolzin trade conversation here. Dranson Dhaliwal spoke about this in regards to the Podkolzin trade return. The 4th round pick is already burning a hole in the pocket of Canucks hockey operations leadership. It's ammunition, an asset that's already been pretty explicitly marked as something the club will look to use to improve during this season. And I like this idea. In theory, it's great to say, all right, yeah, we're trading this guy away, we're getting a draft pick, and then we're going to use that draft pick to get some other guy. Like, that's a great way to manage your assets in a short-term kind of way. But am I the only one that's kind of thinking, hey, I mean, it's a 4th round pick. Is that really going to be all too valuable? I mean, some of the other replies here are saying, hey, is that really going to be useful for the team? I mean, I guess a 4th round pick can land you a player like a Vasili Podkolzin, for example, but other than that, do the Canucks need any more extra depth pieces? I'm not really too sure, but hey, it's good to see Patrik Allvin is being proactive about this and already thinking of opportunities to make a trade happen that allow them to expand upon their assets. Whether that is for another depth forward or somebody else, who really knows, we'll wait and see by the time the trade deadline comes. And then there were some extra thoughts here that were tossed out there by Dranson Dhaliwal. A couple of names are still out there that the Canucks have not shown interest in. Nick Cousins and Milan Lucic. I question why Dranson Dhaliwal put this in the article. I mean, oh yeah, they're not interested in Milan Lucic. Great, like that's a thing that we can talk about. I don't even want to put that in the title or the thumbnail of this video. It doesn't really make too much sense in my opinion. And then finally, there are some other thoughts here to end off this entire thing. Dranson Dhaliwal says that multiple league sources have since indicated to The Athletic that Thatcher Demko will not be ready for training camp and preseason games. The club is hopeful, though, that its Vezina Trophy finalists will be able to play on opening night, but even that seems to be in question at this late stage of the summer. So we had already talked about this in yesterday's video. You can go ahead and check that out if you want. The Thatcher Demko situation seems to be getting worse. Either way, though, I did want to shed some light on some of the other things around Canucks Nation via Dranson Dhaliwal, how the Canucks are approaching their salary cap, what the Podkolzin trade really means, and what other trades can come out of this as a result. It seems like Patrik Allvin has a very well-defined plan. Sure, the Thatcher Demko thing throws a big hiccup into it all, but still, Patty Allvin has got his staff, they're making their moves, and they're giving us a lot of things to cheer for. A lot of things to be excited about, and a lot of players to get hyped about too. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Article, by the way, is linked in the description if you want to see more about the analysis and the extra thoughts as well. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Patrik Allvin's willingness to trade away that 4th round pick, their entire plan with the LTIR, how they plan to navigate this season with Demko maybe up in the air, what this means for guys like Kevin Lankinen, and how the entire Podkolzin trade saga went down. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks and this entire trade thing. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.